So the Arctic Monkeys, they're a super British band that I've been listening to for a while, and David has just listened to recently as part of his duties for a video on your channel. Your album's ranked number 2. Yes. Where tell us a little bit about that video.
I had a bunch of people give me a bunch of albums, and I listened to them and rank them, because I do that. The first time I did it, it was just because I didn't have anything to do.
Right.
But this time, it was like to celebrate 600 subs. So I got 30 albums. I didn't do 2 of them. Have you seen the video?
I have. I wanted to really quickly say, I'm so happy that Pink Moon, the album that I suggested, made it past the halfway point, but I which was super surprising. I did not think it was going to get that high, but then immediately after that, I was like, all right, I'm rooting for Arctic Monkeys, and I was very happy with where they got placed. Again, a super huge surprise for me. I was like, God damn.
That came in at number 3.
I did not expect it to make it that high. I was so stoked. I was like, even if Pink Moon doesn't, because I knew for a fact that wasn't gonna do like amazing, but we had listened to. So the album was, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, I think is the name of the album.
Yeah.
We listened to that on our way to Detroit to see Origami Angel, and it was my first time listening to it in full. I had previously listened to your Favorite Worst Nightmare by them, which is the album that came after that album, and it's one of my favorites of all time. Favorite Worst Nightmare, great album. Listen to it, but yeah, we listened to their debut, and that was your second exposure to the band. But really, it felt like, I'm sure for you it was like listening to them for the first time, pretty much, because the time that I showed you Favorite Worst Nightmare was maybe like a year or 2 ago. It was on another like big trip, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Tell me about your. I want to hear your thoughts on the new album too, because we listened to their new album, The Car, also on that trip to Detroit. So, what do you think about the differences between like their latest album and their first album?
They went from one of the most fun records I've heard in a while to one of the most dull. My God. I don't know, man. The Car was just not fun.
Yeah.
That also might be because we listened to it immediately after the first one.
Yeah.
So I was already like hyped up, like on cocaine and shit. and then it was just a nap.
Yeah.
Right afterwards. I was like, But funny enough, I think it dropped that day.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh shit, this just came out. Let's listen to it.
Yeah, well, because I had refrained from listening. I had been meaning to get around to listening to the single from that album, was Body Paint, which I think was like the 4th song overall. But at least what I will say about the Arctic Monkeys is something that I was telling one of my coworkers recently. They, like a couple other bands that we listened to, like collectively, they have a sound that you can recognize immediately because they write a lot of their songs in that same style. So even if the instrumentation changes a little bit, you can still tell it's like the Arctic Monkeys. But what that means is a whole album is going to feel very homogenous, right? Like the same way that like an album by AC/DC is probably going to have like 1 or 2 standout tracks, and it's only going to be because like the chorus is memorable, or like there's a guitar riff that's super memorable. But other than that, it's going to be like, oh yeah, this is a wall of sound, a wall of Australian sound, So the Arctic Monkeys kind of feel that way, as in like the first album, even though it's really frenetic and there's a lot of energy to it, a lot of it kind of blends together, especially like if you listen to it all the way through. Like if you were to like pick a song out in a playlist and listen to it separately, I think it would have a little bit like stronger of an effect. Whereas like after you listen to that first album, I'm like, all right, I'm exhausted. I need a palate cleanser. I need something that's not the Arctic Monkeys for a little bit. I don't know. That's how I felt. But how did you feel?
I wanted more like the first one.
Yeah.
I thought it was just so fun. Like everyone was just going ham.
Yeah.
And like I said in my video, like I would totally like if you play that shit live, any of the songs, I would be 100% like fuck yeah, let's do it.
Which is crazy to me, because I can't remember the last time that I have like listened to an album with you that was like because like the last couple albums that we listened to together, either as part of your video responsibilities or just because like I have an album or you have an album that you want to like show off. I don't know. I haven't really felt that personally. So like to hear that from someone else, you know, it's fun. It's cool. It's like that the fact that a piece of music can make you feel that way. I think that's kind of incredible, and the reason that we do it, frankly. But yeah, do you have any standout tracks from either of them? Like, do you remember anything from the car?
No, I just remember just being like.
I really like the song "Hey You." I think it's called "Hey You." It's one of the more up tempo songs on that. Also, it's shorter, because the Arctic Monkeys went from recording songs that were like 2.5 minutes long to recording songs that are like 4.5 minutes long, and I think it's just because they slow the tempo down a lot. So, "Hey You" is a song that kind of goes by really quickly, and it had a really interesting chorus and like melodic ideas and stuff. But what about the first album? Do you have any?
I don't remember the songs.
Yeah, the titles are kind of.
I'll say one thing: like none of them bored me.
Well, that's good.
Which is why it was number 3. Like,
yeah,
I don't remember any of the tracks, but like, I liked all of them.
Yeah, I think I've listened to "View from the Afternoon" and "I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor" separately, because I know those are like their popular tracks from that record. I honestly don't know how many more songs they play live from that album. I don't even know what their set list looks like, because they have a couple albums in between those two, and we actually listened to a song from AM, which was the song or the album that I would say arguably like thrust them into the mainstream, like worldwide mainstream, particularly in the United States, because they had songs like "Why'd You Only Call Me When You're High?" They had songs like "Do I Want to Know?" which got overplayed on every rock radio station that you could imagine. You know that one. If I were to just start singing the guitar, the ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na-da-da.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
All right. Well.
Oh no! I know that one. Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. It got a little annoying how often they that song was in rotation, but I think it's, in retrospect, having listened to those two bookend albums, the debut and the latest one, AM is the perfect combination of both of those sounds, where there are some songs that are a little faster, not quite like frenetic anymore, but like as far as the rock sensibilities and the big wall of sound thing, they have a couple of songs on that album, on AM, that really achieve that effect. We listened to Arabella, which I kind of think sounds like Black Sabbath a little bit, or at least in high school I thought I made that comparison. But yeah, I think we probably could have padded the car and, you know, whatever people say I am, with AM in between, just to kind of smooth out that transition so it wasn't a total surprise when the car started playing. But to be fair, I didn't really know what to expect going into the car either. And I didn't know it was going to be a Strings album. Like every single song utilized like a string section, which on one hand is very cool. And I'm just gonna chalk it up to that was like an experimental album for them because they were like, well, we have a string section, might as well use it.